please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Welcome back to our continued special programming, and what you're seeing on your screens now are the latest trends as they stand. The tally so far, we're talking 105 for the BJP and just around 74 for the Congress. That is the Gujarat verdict. The market taking that 100+ number with both hands. However, there's a bit of a cool-off from the top. The other interesting trend that's worth noting is this mega move that started building in PSU banks, by the way, and it's pretty much across the board. Let's pull up SBI. There's a big surge now on that stock. We're talking almost 2.5% on the upside. But SBI is not alone. Pull up PNB and see what's happening there. We should really get these intraday graphs up for you. That's the index. So PNB, Bank of India, Union Bank, Allahabad, Big Daddy, SBI itself. There is a huge move that's building up in a lot of these PSU banks. Remember, our colleague Sapna has been getting us the granular details of the recap plan and what the next steps would be. In fact, we have Sapna with us on the line. Sapna, the banks are perking up because that for the market is the next major event, you know, ahead of the budget. Everybody wants to know how much money is going to come in and by when. What are your sources telling you?
Well, very clearly, in just the next 30-odd minutes, the finance minister is likely to table the second supplementary demands for grants in the parliament. So within that, the first tranche of the quantum of the Public Bank recap bonds, the amount is going to be out. We understand that it should be anywhere between 60 to 70 odd thousand crores. A couple of weeks ago, we had understood that the recap requirement as such for the entire financial year of FY18 works out to somewhere around 90 odd thousand crores. Now, that would also include the NCLT impact. So, keeping that in mind, the indications are probably around 70 odd thousand crores worth of first tranche quantum of recap bonds. And plus, we have to watch out whether there is any additional cash outgo also that the government has planned. They already have 8,000 crores out of the 10,000 crores of reserves left for the current financial year to be disbursed. But there were earlier indications that possibly the projection for next year of 10,000 crores, that also may be preponed. So we have to watch out and see whether anything of that also comes in the second supplementary, or possibly the government may take a call on that sometime in March. But the big one will be, of course, the quantum of the first tranche of recap bonds. And we also understand very quickly that the contours, however, will be declared later. So today they will take the parliament's nod. These are cash neutral bonds, but they have to account somewhere in the government account. So that's what the government will do today, and very shortly they'll follow up with the exact details.
Okay, all right. Sapna, thanks so much for that. We'll keep touching base with you all through the trading session. Well, keep an eye out on the Nifty. That intraday dip, if you'd like to call it, that's been bought into. SBI is a stock that you should be tracking. That's moved to the high point of the day. L&T, that's the other big boy from the Nifty. That as well moves high, and that's why we're up again towards that 80-point gain odd mark. But let's understand how to trade this market. Mitesh Thakkar joins in at this point of time. Hi, Mitesh. Good move today. Fantastic recovery from the lows. How would you trade the Nifty from here? And if you could give us your stock picks as well.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Nigel. I think excellent recovery. And what has happened is that for the possibly fifth time in the last few months, 10,100 and levels around it, which is about give and take 40-50 points, have been confirmed as some kind of a strong support area. I think today morning the low is also close to about 10,080, and we were never actually in threat of breaking below 10,000 given the 10,100, given the fact that we kind of immediately bounced back after hitting those lows. Having said that, I think Nifty should be clearly traded on the long side. Now I think I would suggest going long with the stop below 10,370 and 10,480, 500, which is the earlier high, should be your first target. The stock calls that I have right now are two buy calls. I have a buy on Z with a stop at 574 for targets of 605, and HDFC Bank is a buy. Keep a stop at 1872. Look for targets of 1930. And as you were flagging out, the PSU banking stocks have started some kind of a move. SBI, Bank of Baroda, Punjab National Bank all have good buy patterns on the intraday charts.
Okay, all right, Mitesh. Thanks very much for getting us trading calls of the hour. That's Mitesh with a view. Also noting this big surge that we're seeing in PSU banks. We need to take a quick break on that note. On the other side, time to talk fundamentals. If you're looking at building a portfolio now that this big Gujarat event is behind you.
A little bit on gains. So we're at close to the high point or thereabout right now for the Nifty, 10,418. And the Bank Nifty has really picked up pace courtesy the PSU banks. So for example, State Bank of India is up around 3% as we speak. Good going for that one. And maybe a couple of more PSU banks should come up for you, such as the likes of PNB. And let's see what they are doing as well, and Bank of Baroda. But we do have Tirthankar Patnaik of Mizuho Bank joining in to discuss the fundamentals of the market. Tirthankar, hi, good to see you in today. So the current reckoning is around 105 seats for BJP in Gujarat. How have you read the numbers for the Gujarat election and the outcome for the markets?
Well, the numbers were somewhat divergent from what we saw from the exit polls on Friday, and which actually erased some of the fillip that the market had got on Friday. We saw the market open on a fairly negative basis, but by around 9:30 or 9:45, as the numbers were closer to what the exit polls were predicting, and the BJP got somewhere around closer to the figure of 100, that's when the market stabilized, and I guess numbers have been fairly in line to some extent to what the exit polls pointed out, and the market has heaved a sigh of relief in our understanding.
Tirthankar, morning. So the question is now what? What next for India equities as an asset class? Because the previous year has been phenomenal. Things have gone according to script as far as this state election is concerned. Do you see substantial highs in 2018 as well? Or do you see more perhaps risks and challenges ahead?
I mean, this year has been phenomenal. As you rightly point out, for Indian equities, we are up about 26%, which brings us closer to somewhere about 2012 or 2014 numbers, where the markets were, did rise more than 25% in a year. But both those years were followed by rather tepid performances in the years, following. So 2015 wasn't so good. 2013 again was not such a good year for the markets. And this year, one must also see that a large part of India's performance has been also driven by what has been a global equity rally. So the MSCI Asia ex Japan or the MSCI emerging markets indices have both risen, given significant performance this year, and to continue this performance next year would definitely need earnings to start recovering, earnings to start delivering the way consensus is assuming them to. So look at FY18 earnings. We started the year expecting about 15% numbers. We might end the year at roughly 5%. So while that does provide a good low base for FY19 earnings, FY20 earnings, we believe that markets at about 17.5 times forward earnings are pretty much pricing in growth in FY18 and FY19 and to some extent FY20 as well. So to surprise from a performance perspective in FY19 or 2018 would be fairly difficult in our understanding. So we would expect something like a 8 to 10% performance from the market only in the next year.
Well, Tirthankar, you're talking about the Nifty trading at around 17 times, or the Indian markets trading at around 17.5 times. That would mean that for FY19 and FY20, you're expecting substantial earnings growth. What is that number? 15%, 18%?
Yes. So the consensus earnings are sitting at close to 20% numbers for FY19 and to some extent FY20 as well. Where you do see, if you go via sectors, you do see earnings improvement in places like telecom, places like banks, where you've seen valuation increases but earnings have not followed through. You do expect earnings to improve for the IT space. You do expect earnings to improve in the pharma space. So clearly, there is a build-up of good earnings expectations from the markets in FY19 and FY20. However, what the point I'm trying to make is it will be difficult for the market to surprise from these levels. The market seems to have already priced in that kind of an earnings recovery, purely because we are seeing only about a 5% earnings growth this year.
Tirthankar, we have multiple state elections coming up in 2018, and then we follow it up with a general election in 2019. Is the market fearing maybe the government focusing a lot more on elections post today's outcome, and hence maybe fears of, say, populist measures?
Well, some amount of caution was probably getting factored in when we opened this morning, when there was this worry that if the performance was of the government of the NDA at the moment was not according to what the exit polls had pointed out, then there would be a move towards to some extent fiscal profligacy. You must see that from the centre's perspective, the fiscal deficit numbers have been remarkably stable. The government has been able to, even if the 3% number has been pushed out by about 2 years, the overall fiscal prudence trajectory has been maintained. So we were looking at 3.2%. We were looking at 3%, in the following year. Numbers, however, have increased from a state perspective, and where the consolidated deficit of India does show much higher numbers, about north of 6% or so. And if one would have actually seen an inimical result this morning, then expectations of the coming budget in February might have also taken a turn for the worse. Thankfully, that does not seem to have happened. So one would continue to expect some amount of profligacy probably in the FY19 budget, but not to the extent it was looking at one was looking in the morning.
All right, Titankar, final question then, just keeping in line with what you were talking about in terms of the fisc. Well, we were talking about the bank recap, we're talking about GST rate cuts, and also we had the farm loan waivers earlier. Do you see any kind of risk to managing the fisc?
So, if there have been some amount of concern on whether the government will be able to, keep to its fiscal target this year, we believe that one would need to look at the GST collection numbers, again over the next couple of months to see where they essentially stabilize, and if we indeed would end up having a significant shortfall from the budgeted levels. At the moment, the trajectory we've seen of the fisc has been remarkably similar to the last 7 or 8 years, at least from FY11 or so. Wherever we've seen the fiscal numbers pick up, the overall numbers, the overall fisc by the end of the year does tend to be around the budgeted estimate numbers. FY18 was different in the following sense that this pickup was faster than any of the previous years, at least from FY12, where we saw the fisc reaching to the budgeted estimate of about, reaching to almost 90+% of the budgeted estimate fairly quickly. But if you see then, since then, government estimates, government spending has been remarkably trimmed down. And we for one believe that the numbers of 3.2% would be met almost. So we might end up with a 3.25% kind of fisc for FY18, but no further.
Okay.
Staying with the big Q today, CNBC TV18's Rituparna Bhuyan caught up with Shiv Pratap Shukla, the MOS Finance, earlier to get his reaction on BJP winning the Gujarat elections. Let's listen.
मुझे लगता है कि गुजरात में हम लोगों को और सभी मीडिया को भी पहले से ये लग रहा था कि नहीं बीजेपी ही पावर में आएगी पुनः। तो आज हम उस स्थिति में बढ़ रहे हैं और आगे जो कांग्रेस की अभी थोड़ी बहुत बढ़त की दे रही है वो और कम होगी और हम और होगी।
तो इकोनॉमिक पॉलिसीज का किस तरह योगदान रहा इस परफॉर्मेंस में सर? जीएसटी लागू हुआ था इसी दौरान, आप किस तरह देखेंगे इसे?
मुझे लगता है कि अच्छा है ये, और पहले से भी जीएसटी धीरे धीरे सरल होती चली जा रही है। जो प्रथम दिन जीएसटी लागू होने के समय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने ये कहा था कि ये सरल टैक्स होगा, तो आज वो सरल टैक्स होता चला जा रहा है। जो भी उसके स्लैब है उसमें भी ठीक होता चला जा रहा है, और जीएसटी अब सभी लोगों का विषय बनता चला जा रहा है और सब लोग उसको मानते हैं।
इस जीत को आप कैसे देखेंगे? रिफॉर्म्स क्या डू वी सी द रिफॉर्म्स एजेंडा बीइंग पुश्ड हार्डर नाउ दैट यू हैव अ वेरी स्ट्रांग पॉलिटिकल मैंडेट फ्रॉम अ बिग स्टेट?
नहीं, मुझे ये लगता है ना कि इस जीत को हम इस दिशा में मान सकते हैं कि गुजरात की जनता ने सभी लोगों को नकारने का काम किया है और ये मान करके चला है कि नहीं, हमने प्रधानमंत्री भी दिया है तो हम प्रधानमंत्री के द्वारा निर्देशित मुख्यमंत्री भी देंगे।